Hey folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world, and I am Abhinay Gupta. And today again we will continue with the Professional Ethics by the CA Act 1949. So if you remember that in the previous lecture we were close to the ending of clause number 6. We have discussed the clause, we have discussed what is allowed, and we were in the middle of the discussion of what are the things that are prohibited. And roughly we have discussed among, I think, 8 of them, right? Yes. So as per the list that I have shown you in the previous lecture, we had 11 prohibitions, right? So I'll try and cover the 4 other prohibitions today, and one prohibition that is about the website. What are you not supposed to do on your website is something which has to be dealt in detail and will require an individual class on that. And remember, you get questions from that as well, right? So today we'll move ahead and understand the other 4 topics. Number 1 being scope of representation which an auditor is entitled to make under section 225 subsection 3 of the Companies Act 1956. So what is the scope of representation that we see? Remember friends, when we are into it, we will always mention section 225 subsection 3 of the old Companies Act, right, rather than the new Companies Act. Okay, why? Because if you refer to your latest study material as well, they are still mentioning the old section. So unless and until we have a notification on the institute website, we will follow what's given in the study material. That is the safest option that is available with us. Okay, so does anybody remember what did we actually talk about when we used to refer to section 225 of the Companies Act 1956? Any one of you? Anyone? No. I know. First of all, because it's already an outdated syllabus, so you must have already flushed it out of your brain. Number 1, right? And number 2 is you don't remember. As simple as that. Even if this was a part of the syllabus, we would not have remembered it. It's difficult to remember sections, right? But understand, if you read at the statement, it is scope of representation. So do you people remember that when you are about to remove an auditor, the auditor has the right to make representation? That means he has a right to say, right? People will listen to him. What has he got to say? Why should he be reappointed, or why should he not be removed? Right? That is a right to make representation. So clause 6 over here, we are basically talking about soliciting client, that you should not go ahead by doing all the various things that we have discussed in the previous lectures, because if you go through that, you will bring disrepute to the society, to the profession, right? Not the society, to the profession. So what basically happens is, when you go out to make representation, if you look at the previous clauses and the other clauses that are coming forward, you would tend to see that, okay, there is a possibility that over here also you are getting into an advertisement of yourself. So you have to be very, very careful with that. So when you are making a representation as well, you are not at all supposed to solicit client, right? So what are the kinds of information you would include in your representation? The representation letter that you actually issue to the company, that the company either reads out in the board meeting, the shareholders meeting, or with the notice of the meeting, they rotate it out to all the shareholders, right? They were the 2 options available with the company. So the letter of representation that you had sent, right, it should merely set out the dignified manner of how you have been working independently and conscientiously while you were performing the audit, right? So you will tell them that, yeah, when I was doing your audit for the past 1 year, I was independent. These were the cautions I have taken. This is how I used to work, right? So whatever is related to the client, the facts and figures, you could quote it down over there. And at the last, you can only mention that, yes, I am still willing to take ahead the audit for the subsequent year. Nothing else. Because if you go on to write something that would pretended to be soliciting client, you would again be considered to be guilty of misconduct, right? So giving out advertisement and stuff from your own end, which is a choice for you, over there you have certain restrictions, and over here also when you have to make representation by law, right? The law asks you to make representation. Over there also you cannot go ahead with such things. You'll have to be very careful with your words, with the words you use and you speak while you make the representation, right? This point actually deals with just that small thing, that even in representation you have to maintain the equal level of consciousness, right? So that was very clear and short. Now we move on to the next point, which says acceptance of original professional work by a member emanating from the client introduced to him by another member. So over here what happened is, first thing they stated that yes, the client you have is not your own earned client. This client has been given to you by some other member of this profession. So for example, you are CA Mr. A and the other member is CA Mr. B, right? So CA A has received a client from CA B and the client is XYZ, right? So now XYZ tells you that okay, as you are giving me these two services, right, as we had already had a discussion with A and B, these are the kind of services that A will be giving to XYZ, and that XYZ has been referred by B. Now this is the scenario that XYZ comes up to A and say, yeah, I have 2 more works to be done, could you please do that for me? And A, being very happy about it, that yes, I got 2 more assignments, goes on and bang on, yes, give it to me, I'll do it. Is that ethical? No. Why? Because if B would not have referred that client to A, whom would have the client be approaching now? The client definitely would have approached B, that yeah, these are the other 2 works I have to get it done. Do it for me or refer it to somebody. And then B would have decided what to do with it, right? So if B has given a work to A, that means B has just given that assignment. B has not handed over his client to A. So any work that arises from A, from XYZ, right, it is the duty of A. It's not a compulsion, but it is his duty that he should let the client know that yes, please go back to B and share this with him or with that firm, so that even if this work has to come to A, it should be coming to A via B, because B has the first and the prominent right on that client, because it's B's client and B has recommended this client to A, right? You can see, from a client introduced to him by another member. So again, if you don't do that, it is a professional misconduct. Now in plain layman term, if you try and understand in one sentence, then it is that if you have a client and that client has been referred by somebody else, then if the client comes to you with a new work, you will ask the client, please go back and route that work via the first person or the first CA from whom you have received the client. You will not take advantage of your new connection with the client. It is as simple as that. And I hope it is clear with you, right? So let us see what we have further. Giving public interviews, yes. So happy, right? Giving public interviews and stuff, everybody is, because you are in the media, you are flashing here and there. So what happens is, when you give interview, you know that yeah, there's this entire world that will be watching this interview, that has the option to watch at least. I know not everybody will watch your interview, but they have it. It has been given out, rolled out, it has been on the air for everybody. And you see that yes, this is a golden opportunity. Let me bring out the good news that yes, I am a chartered accountant giving this offer, that offer, and you go on advertising. You will be held guilty of professional misconduct. You're not supposed to do that, right? Even if you are giving public interviews, you will have to be very, very conscious with what you say. The crux line, just remember one thing: whenever you get an opportunity to give an interview, make sure you are not giving the interview in such a way that you are trying to solicit client. Right? That is the crux. The member who is giving the interview should ensure that it should not result in any kind of publicity to you or your firm. Clear with that? You should take due care to ensure that whatever details you are giving in that interview, you should not be in any ways highlighting your professional attainment. When you give your interview, you definitely give the detail out for your attainments, not attainments, your firm name, your name, what is your background, how have you done it, but you do not go on to say, hey, I audit this big clients, right? Understand, I have so big clients, these are my professional attainments, I have been this, I have been that, and all blah blah. You go on chatting about yourself. Why? Because you want to create a gravity of you or your firm. What will happen with that? With that, you will have created an impression on somebody's mind so that they come up to you with a task, with an assignment. So we say, if you're going out for any public interview, you'll have to be very careful with the words you use. Do not publicize yourself, do not highlight your professional attainment, do not in any way solicit client. Right? Next we have is the website. And I have told you we will be discussing about the website in the next lecture. It's a detailed discussion. We'll be talking about each and every bit of the website. And the last one that we'll do today is members and or firms who publish advertisement under box number. Now if anybody does that, any firm or any member, if they are used to publishing advertisement under box numbers, then what are they supposed to do? Let us have a look at it. Now when we talk about advertisement under box number, right, let us not get into very detail into this topic. Why? Because this is something we don't very often use these days, right? And from your exam point of view, you just need to understand that yes, if there is something going on with the box number, right, because there are certain CAs, even now certain CAs, certain firms, right, who insert their advertisement under their box number in the newspaper. So the institute directly says that even that is prohibited and nothing else. So just remember, if you anywhere get any kind of thing that yeah, somebody is advertising in the box number, just remember it is not allowed. Any kind of advertisement is not allowed. This is just a simple point included, but in general also, if you always stick to one point that any kind of advertisement is not allowed, then it is not allowed. Whatever is written in the paper, box office or anything, just keep your brain clear, it's not allowed. But since it was a point in the study material, I had to share it with you, right? So we are done with the last 4 points. The one remaining website will be taken up in the next lecture. So until then, please stay tuned. And this is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you and bye-bye.